Hey, what's going on? What's going on? And welcome. If you're catching this on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that I know that you were here. And if you are catching this on the replay, you can skip ahead to about the 1.5 to 2 minute mark to get to the content. But while you are jumping on, I'm going to be sharing this out to a few of my favorite spots, and I encourage you to do the same. Let me know who you are and where you're from so I can say hey. Okay. Let me act like I got some sense so we can get down with this content. And but let me get this shared out because y'all know how that works out for a kid. Generally not very well. Make sure I'm working over here. Sweet. All right, here we go. This is awesome. Facebook is doing me a solid. I love how that works. Can't type. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't see how kids do this like effortlessly and don't do like crossover stuff because I just can't even. All right, cool. So I am done with the sharing part. We are right at the 1.5 minutes. So let's get started with the housekeeping announcements. Okay, we got the list of dates, you all. Hold on. I didn't have my notes up. Sorry, wasn't ready. Okay, so here we go. All right, so first of all, the IRS is still scheduled to open on January 28th. However, I just read a headline that said that there are IRS workers who are skipping work because of, they have something in their bylaws that said that, they can skip work if they have a hardship. And I'm kind of going with not having any money. That kind of being a hardship. So even though the IRS is still scheduled to open, I still expect there to be delays when it comes to refunds. If you go in with that expectation, then you won't be disappointed. But just know that, those delays are still possible. Even with the, with refunds that contain the earned income tax credit, those refunds aren't due to be released until starting February 15th. But at this point, I would still expect a delay with those refunds as well. October, Lord have mercy. I am like 10 months ahead. It's one of those warnings already. All right. January 31st is the filing deadline for 2017 taxes for those that live in areas that are impacted by Hurricane Florence, if you had a valid extension already filed. February 28th is the deadline for those who live in areas impacted by Hurricane Michael. Again, if you had a valid extension for your 2017 taxes. March 15th is the deadline for S-Corps and partnerships. The failure to file penalty for S-Corps is $195 a month, and for partnerships is $200 a month. So you need to either have the return filed or file an extension. And then tax day is April 15th. And then there you go. And we're off. All right. So, but again, with the whole thing with the government shutdown, you guys, I'm going to tell you this is going to be a year to be patient. Okay. Simply because you know what? The IRS is already working with a reduced staff. You already have people that can't make it to work because you got to spend money to get to work. So I just encourage you to have a little patience this year and not be harassing your tax professional for your refund because they don't have your money. It is the IRS. And if they don't come to work, hey, ain't nothing we can do about that. So, that's it for the housekeeping announcements. Let me do the intro and then we will get down with the content for today. Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. And with today's topic, I want to talk about the Earned Income Tax Credit dispute. Okay. Because believe it or not, there are many home business owners and small business owners, mom and pop shops that actually receive the earned income tax credit. This is not just for people who don't make any money. There are a lot of people across many spectrums that actually get the earned income tax credit. Okay. But what happens is that generally you've got disputing parents, that lace up their tennis shoes and race to get their taxes filed. So one can claim the dependent child before the other one gets there. And then, holy cow, the fights start. So what generally happens is one person has the right to claim them, the other one does not, all right? And so then one rushes off to claim them, and then what happens is that other parent, when they file, if they filed second, then their return is going to get rejected when it's e-filed, because it'll say that, a return has already been filed with, claiming the social security number. And then you find out that the other parent claimed them. So then what happens is that second parent has to then file paper. Send your return in via paper. Yes, it takes longer, but you file your return the way it's supposed to be, and you file by paper. Then at some point, several months later, and possibly even a year later, you're going to get a letter from the IRS. I do believe it's a CP 75 or 75A or something like that. But anyway, it's going to ask you for supporting documentation of the child's residency. Now, this is key because there are some parents who have divorced, and, they have an agreement in their divorce decree that says you claim them on even years and I'll claim them on odd years. Okay, that is totally acceptable, except if one person doesn't abide by that divorce decree, then you got problems, because the IRS does not abide by divorce decrees. Divorces are state run. It's not federal. So the IRS then asks for supporting documentation on verifying residency of that dependent. Where did the child or children live? So then you have to show proof. Well, what kind of proof? And so that's what I want to talk about today. So you've got to have, you can provide a doctor's letter or daycare records or school records, something that has your child's name on it and their address. So if you, you can get a statement from your daycare provider. You can get copies of medical records or a statement. You can also get a statement from the child's school or the daycare or medical care provider, if it's not on the records. You need to. And you have to send in copies of this stuff to the IRS. It's not enough just to have the Social Security card. It's not enough to have the birth certificate. You have to have something that shows your child's name and their address. And so if you're the parent that claimed the kid when you weren't supposed to, then you can be barred from claiming that child ever again. Okay? I've seen it happen, and that's just the way it is. And you have to pay that money back. So if you got earned income tax credit, or if you even got a higher refund because you claimed a dependent that you weren't supposed to, you've got to pay that money back. And oh, by the way, if you happened to have owed originally, if you had not claimed that dependent, you got to pay that money too. So it is really critical, especially with parents who aren't together, to get on the same sheet of music about claiming dependents, because then both of you can wind up in trouble. And so in the event of, let's say you've got somebody that's not abiding by the divorce decree, okay, then you have to actually settle that in court. The IRS, like I said, they don't abide by what the divorce decree says. They look at where did the kid live. And so then if you have this divorce decree, then you got to take that spouse back to court to get your money. That's just the way the law works. It's not pretty, but that's how it works. And so, so when it comes down to claiming your dependents, and listen, this is also with, people selling I will say selling them, but renting out their kids' social security numbers. If they have more than 3 kids, then that person whoever claimed your kid that wasn't supposed to, is going to have to provide documentation that shows that kid lived there. And if they can't do it, they're going to have to pay that money back. And if they keep digging and find out that this kid has been claimed by Larry, Curly, Moe, and Shemp, all these different tax years, then not only are they going to be barred from claiming their earned income tax credit, but you are going to be barred from claiming the earned income tax credit because you're participating in fraud. So this is not something to play with. and thinking, oh, I'll never get caught. Because when you do get caught, the price is going to be way more than you can pay back. When you think about the thousands of dollars that people get with the earned income tax credit, and if you don't get it lawfully, then that's fraud and you're going to have to pay it back. And this is why, the law was changed so that those refunds don't get released until after February 15th, so that the IRS can try to do their best to prevent fraud. This is why tax professionals are also asking the questions that seem intrusive and, asking for documentation that is actually inconvenient for you, because we have that responsibility as well to try to, reduce the instances of fraud, because once that money is gone, it's really hard to get it back, if you actually get it back at all. So that's what happens when you have, this dependent dispute. And this is why I encourage people to really sit down and come to an agreement instead of, trying to lace up your sneakers every year and race to claim the dependent before the other one gets there and all that stuff, because then you got the government in your business, and it just doesn't work out well. Because the person that can lawfully claim them, that has the right to claim them, then has to wait forever to get their money. And then the person that didn't claim them, okay, well, now you got to pay that money back. It's ugly. The person that winds up suffering the most is the kid, because that's money that can be available to take care of a child that's now not available. That's how I look at it. Okay, so when you have these types of disputes, the only thing that you can do is you either have the documentation or you don't. You make copies. You follow the instructions that are on the letter. Whenever you get a letter from the IRS, it tells you exactly what you need to do. So you need to follow the instructions on the letter. Once you get all of your documentation together to prove that this dependent lived with you, you make copies of that and you send it to the IRS. Do not send original documents to the IRS, because you will not get that stuff back. Okay. Who knows where it will end up. So, the best thing is to try to stay out of those types of fights. But if you get there, and I know that I have parents and, I have actually a few clients of mine that have had to go through this process, and it's a very long and drawn out process that you have to go through in order for you to prove that you have the right to claim these kids, and then the IRS has got to go through the drama of getting the money back from the parent that didn't have the right to claim the kid. Okay. So I hope this helps you all out, because listen, taxes is all encompassing, you guys. It's not, yes, I'm the home biz tax lady, but you got to look at the whole picture of what's going on in your life to get the proper, advice, right? This is just one part of it, okay? So listen, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right, have a great day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.